The city never slept, and neither did the memories Emma tried to bury. New York's skyline shimmered like 1,000 scattered stars, but from her small apartment window on the 23rd floor, it all felt cold and distant. She had come here to start over, to escape the whispers of her past, yet the past had a way of following, lingering in the shadows like a silent ghost. Emma dropped her suitcase by the door and rubbed her temples. The move from Boston had been impulsive, yet necessary. Leaving her family, her old apartment, and everything familiar had been terrifying, but staying in a life that constantly reminded her of heartbreak had been worse. Her phone buzzed. A text from her new colleague at the marketing firm, Olivia. "Hey Emma, can't wait to meet you tomorrow at the office. And why won't know what hit it once you join." She smiled faintly. Meeting new people, building a new life, it sounded simple. Too simple, maybe? The apartment was modest, just enough space for her essentials. The walls were bare, the air smelled faintly of paint, and the view was all glass and steel. As she unpacked, a memory brushed against her mind. The last day she had seen him, the one she had tried to forget. His eyes had looked through her, and yet she knew he had seen everything she was hiding: the fear, the regret, the love she had buried. Shaking it off, Emma opened her laptop and began scrolling through New York news feeds. Amid the traffic updates and celebrity headlines, a small article caught her eye. Mysterious stranger saves woman in Central Park. Witnesses report unusual incident. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Something about the phrasing was familiar. She clicked. A man, tall and dressed in black, had pulled a woman away from an oncoming cyclist, disappearing before anyone could thank him properly. Witnesses described him as striking, mysterious, and strangely familiar. Emma's heart skipped a beat. No, it couldn't be. Her phone buzzed again. A message from her landlord. "Welcome to the building. Hope you're settling in well. If you need anything, let me know. Mr. Harlan." Emma sighed. A simple thank you was all she typed. She needed to calm down. Maybe she was overthinking, but deep in her chest, an unease settled, a sense that her carefully constructed new life might not be as safe as she had hoped. The next morning, Emma's nerves buzzed like electricity. First day at the office. She chose a simple navy dress, her hair pulled into a loose ponytail, and double-checked her bag, laptop, notebook, phone, keys. Ready? The subway ride was a blur of smells, sounds, and the occasional clatter of sneakers against the train floor. She gripped the pole tightly, keeping her balance, keeping herself together. The thought of stepping into a room full of strangers expected to smile, to charm, to impress was almost too much. Almost. Then she saw him. Not the man from the news article, but someone equally arresting. He stood on the opposite platform, leaning casually against the wall, coffee in hand, dark hair falling slightly into his eyes. There was something familiar in the curve of his jaw, the tilt of his head. Emma blinked, thinking she was imagining it, but the feeling didn't go away. The train screeched to a halt. Emma stepped inside, pressed against the door, and tried to focus on the upcoming day. Yet her mind wandered. Shadows of her past. Whispers of memory. He had to be someone she had known, but who? And why did seeing him make her stomach twist with a mix of dread and anticipation? The office was bustling. People moved with precision and purpose, their conversations a low hum of ambition. Olivia found her first, wide-eyed and smiling, a bundle of energy. "Emma, there you are. You're going to love it here. Let me give you the grand tour." Emma followed, trying to absorb everything: the open-plan desks, the glass meeting rooms, the hum of creativity. She smiled politely, nodded where required, but part of her mind was still on that stranger. Lunch came, a brief reprieve from the whirlwind of introductions. Emma stepped onto the terrace, the city sprawling endlessly below her. She exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of everything she had tried to escape. And then, she felt it: someone watching. Turning slowly, her eyes met his. The same stranger from the subway, the one who had haunted her thoughts all morning. And now he was here, standing across the terrace, as if he had been waiting. He smiled, not a friendly smile, but one that hinted at secrets, past knowledge, and danger. Emma's heart raced. Questions flooded her mind. Who was he? How did he find her? And why did it feel like the moment their eyes met, the city itself held its breath? Before she could react, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. And Emma knew, with a certainty that made her stomach drop, that her new life in New York was about to be anything but ordinary. The following days blurred into a rhythm Emma had not expected. Work at the marketing firm was demanding yet invigorating, and for a while, she convinced herself that the stranger had been nothing more than a fleeting illusion. But deep down, she knew better. His image lingered in her mind like a shadow she couldn't shake. Emails, meetings, presentations, her life became a controlled chaos. Yet every time she passed a reflective window or glanced across a terrace, there was that faint pull in her chest, a feeling that someone, somewhere, was watching. It was Friday afternoon when the first real sign appeared. Emma had stayed late at the office, reviewing campaign analytics, when the door to the marketing floor clicked softly. A voice, deep, calm, almost intimate, cut through the hum of computers. "Emma Carter." She froze, her pen hovering above her notebook. Slowly, she looked up. There he was, not leaning against a wall this time, but standing tall and deliberate in the middle of the office, dark eyes locked on hers. "You," she whispered, barely audible. "Hello, Emma," he said, voice smooth and unhurried. "We need to talk." Her heart thudded, a strange mix of fear and recognition. She wanted to run, to hide, to pretend she hadn't seen him, but the truth was, she couldn't. "Who are you?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. He stepped closer, his presence commanding yet not threatening. "I'm someone who knows more about you than you think." Emma's mind raced. A chill ran down her spine. "I don't understand." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, worn notebook. Flipping it open, he revealed entries written in a familiar hand. Photos, dates, notes, all documenting moments Emma had never shared with anyone. This is," her voice trembled. "Where did you get this?" "I've been following certain patterns," he said carefully. "And now, Emma, it's time you understand why you were brought here." Emma stared at him, confusion and fear battling with curiosity. "Brought here? What are you talking about?" "New York isn't just a new start," he said, his gaze intense. "It's a stage. And you, Emma, are the main act in a story you don't yet fully understand." Her pulse quickened. Was this a game, a threat, or something more? Before she could answer, the lights flickered. A sudden noise, a crash from the hallway, made them both turn sharply. A man in a dark hoodie darted past, clutching a small bag, disappearing before anyone could react. The stranger's eyes followed him. "He's getting bolder. We don't have much time." Emma's stomach nodded. "Time for what?" "Time for the truth," he said simply. And just like that, he left her alone, notebook in hand, heart racing, mind reeling. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. The city outside glittered with life, but inside her apartment, shadows loomed large. She opened the notebook again, scanning the pages. Every entry seemed personal, intimate, almost like someone had known her better than she knew herself. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Meet me at the corner of 5th and Madison, midnight. Come alone." Emma's first instinct was to delete it, to pretend it never existed. But curiosity, that dangerous little spark, urged her on. She grabbed her coat, slipped into the quiet streets of New York, and felt the adrenaline pulse with every step. The city was eerily quiet at midnight. Streetlights cast long shadows across empty sidewalks, and the occasional car's headlights painted fleeting streaks of gold and white. At the corner of 5th and Madison, a figure waited. The same stranger. "You came," he said, almost relieved. "Why am I here?" she asked, voice low, tense. "Because," he said, handing her a small envelope, "what you think you've escaped is coming for you, and you need to be ready." Emma took it, hands trembling. Inside, she found a series of photographs, hers, but with people she didn't recognize, places she had never been, and one photo that made her gasp. A man standing in the shadows, watching her apartment, watching her. "This is real," she whispered. "Yes," he said, his voice grave, "and it's only the beginning. There are things you need to uncover, and there are people who will stop at nothing to make sure you don't." Emma's heart pounded. Fear, confusion, and an inexplicable attraction coursed through her veins. She wanted to run, to hide, but part of her knew that this story was inevitable. "You'll need to trust me," he said, taking her hand gently, "or the shadows will consume you before you even see the light." Emma nodded, unsure whether it was courage or madness that made her stay. But deep down, a spark ignited, a spark of hope, and something else, something dangerously intoxicating. As they disappeared into the night together, the city held its breath. Somewhere between fear and desire, between past and future, Emma realized that her life in New York had become a story she could never run from, and perhaps one she didn't want to. New York had never felt so alive, yet so dangerous. The streets, once bustling with commuters and neon lights, now seemed like a maze of shadows and whispers. Emma's pulse still raced from the midnight encounter, and though part of her wanted to retreat into safety, another part, an impulsive, reckless part, urged her forward. She arrived at the office the next morning, the envelope clutched tightly in her bag. She avoided looking at anyone directly, but Olivia noticed her distraction immediately. Emma, you okay? You look exhausted, Olivia said, concern in her voice. Emma forced a smile. Just a late night, nothing to worry about. But inside, she felt the weight of the unknown pressing down. Every photograph, every message, every whispered warning from the stranger haunted her. Who were these people watching her? And why? The stranger whose name she still didn't know had given her no answers. Only clues. And that was the worst kind of torture. Half the truth. That evening, she decided to confront the envelope's contents. Sitting on her apartment floor, she laid out the photographs. People, places, notes. One photograph stood out. A familiar face. The man from Central Park who had saved someone months ago. But there was something different about him in the picture. He wasn't just a bystander. He was watching, observing, calculating. A sudden knock at the door made her jump. Her heart raced as she grabbed the nearest object. A heavy lamp hand tiptoed toward the door. Emma, it's me, a familiar voice said softly. It was him, the stranger. He stepped inside without waiting for permission. Calm and collected, as if he had been expected all along. You shouldn't be alone with these, he said, glancing at the photographs. I need answers, Emma exclaimed, frustration and fear bubbling together. Who are these people? Why am I being watched? And most importantly, why me? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Because you're connected to something bigger than yourself. And now that you're in New York, you're in the center of it. Emma's mind spun. Connected how? Center of what? He hesitated, as if weighing how much to reveal. There's a network, a group that tracks certain individuals, people with skills, secrets, or knowledge that can't fall into the wrong hands. You are part of that, unknowingly, and someone wants it. Emma felt as if the room had tilted. I don't understand. I'm just me. I'm not anyone special. You are, he said firmly. And that's why they're watching, and that's why I'm here. Before she could ask more, her phone vibrated violently. A text from the unknown number. Stop digging, or everything you love will disappear. Emma's hands trembled as she read it. Her apartment suddenly felt claustrophobic, the shadows longer, the air heavier. He reached for her hand again, holding it with a firmness that was both comforting and electrifying. You have to trust me. If you don't, it'll get worse. And not just for you, those around you are in danger too. The words hit her like a punch. Danger, people she cared about. Olivia, her family. Her life, carefully rebuilt, suddenly felt like a fragile glass ornament teetering on the edge of a table. Over the next few days, Emma followed him into a hidden side of the city she had never seen. Abandoned warehouses, back alleys, rooftop overlooks. He taught her to observe, to anticipate, to read people. And in those stolen moments, her fear began to mingle with something else, an undeniable attraction. There was a fire in his gaze, a quiet confidence that made her pulse quicken. He was dangerous, yes, but in a way that made her heart ache for more. One night, on a deserted rooftop overlooking the glittering skyline, he turned to her. You can't let them know you care, he said. If they see an attachment, they'll exploit it. But, he paused, his expression softening. There's a reason I'm here, with you. Emma's breath caught. Why? Because, he whispered, stepping closer, you're the only one I can trust. And I can't let anything happen to you. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the two of them. The hum of the city below, the cool night air, the tension between them, it all pulled her in, reckless and consuming. And before she could stop herself, she leaned in, lips barely brushing his. A question hanging in the air. Should she trust him? Or was this the beginning of her undoing? The kiss was interrupted by a sharp sound below, a scream. A crash, a warning that danger had followed them here. Emma's heart leapt. They're close, he said, eyes darkening. And if we don't move, we'll be too late. Grabbing her hand, he pulled her away from the rooftop, into the labyrinth of New York streets where shadows hid secrets, and where every step forward blurred the line between love and peril. And in that moment, Emma realized that nothing in her life had prepared her for what was coming. Not love, not fear, not the shadows that whispered her name. The city was no longer just a backdrop, it was a living entity, and she was now a part of its dangerous story. The city felt different at night, alive, restless, as if it breathed with secrets Emma was only beginning to understand. Every corner seemed to whisper warnings, every shadow promised hidden truths, and yet, she couldn't stop herself from following him deeper into this dangerous game. Where are we going? She asked as they navigated narrow alleyways, her hands still entwined with his. To a safe house, he replied, glancing around sharply. We can talk there without interruptions. Emma tried to focus, but her mind refused. Questions swirled. Who was he really? How did he know so much? And what was this network that seemed to follow her every move? The safe house was an unremarkable apartment in a quiet part of the city, but inside, it was anything but ordinary. Walls lined with monitors, notes pinned in meticulous order, photographs of people Emma had never seen or thought she would never meet again. "This is intense," Emma said softly, eye and fear in her voice. He nodded. "Welcome to my world. This is where we prepare, where we plan, and where we stay one step ahead of them." "Prepare for what?" she asked, trying to steady her trembling hands. "For them," he said simply. "They're closer than you think, and they've been watching you long before you even moved here." Emma's stomach tightened. "Why me? I'm not special." "You are, whether you realize it or not," he said, locking eyes with her. "The network is after people like you, people who carry knowledge or connections they want to control. And you, Emma, are key." He handed her a folder. Inside were documents detailing her life, school records, employment history, even personal letters she had thought destroyed. Every entry marked, annotated, as if someone had studied her every move. Emma swallowed hard. "This is terrifying." "Yes," he admitted, "but knowledge is power. And now, you have some too." Over the next few days, he trained her how to spot surveillance, how to recognize patterns, how to protect herself from both physical and digital threats. And yet, amid the danger, moments of tenderness emerged, small touches, stolen glances, and words unspoken. One evening, after a grueling day of training, she sat across from him in the dimly lit safe house. "You shouldn't be doing this for me," she said quietly. "I can handle myself." "No," he interrupted, his voice firm yet gentle. "You don't understand. I can't risk you getting hurt. And I can't let you go, not now." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She wanted to protest, to hide the feelings threatening to rise within her. But the sincerity in his eyes made her stop. For the first time since arriving in New York, she felt a strange sense of safety. And then, the sound came, a soft click, almost imperceptible. He stiffened. "They're here." Before she could react, the door burst open. Figures in dark clothing stormed in, moving with precision and intent. Emma's mind screamed, "Run, hide, do something," but he was already in front of her, shielding her. Chaos erupted. Papers flew, monitors crashed, and alarms screamed. He fought with a fluidity that made Emma's heart pound, not just with fear, but with awe. "Go, get out," he shouted, dragging her toward a hidden exit. They stumbled into a narrow alley, breathing hard. The night air was cold, sharp against their flushed faces. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit faded, replaced by the distant hum of the city. Emma leaned against a wall, chest heaving. "Who were they?" "People who don't want you to have the truth," he said, his eyes dark and intense. "People who will stop at nothing. And now, they know we're working together." A silence fell between them, heavy and charged. And then, almost without thinking, Emma reached out, touching his arm. I trust you," she whispered. He looked at her. The weight of the night, the danger, and their shared secrets reflected in his eyes. And for a moment, the world outside the city, the shadows, the enemies didn't exist. There was only them, hearts racing, connected in a way neither could explain. The following morning, they reviewed the aftermath. The safe house was compromised, and they had no choice but to move. As they packed, he handed her a small USB drive. "This has everything you need," he said. "Contacts, locations, information. Use it wisely. And remember, trust no one outside this room." Emma nodded, gripping the drive tightly. She felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about uncovering the truth, protecting herself, and maybe discovering the depths of what her heart was capable of feeling. And as they disappeared into the bustling streets of New York, Emma realized that her life had transformed entirely. The city she had thought of as a new beginning had become a labyrinth of danger, desire, and secrets waiting to be unraveled. And at the center of it all was him, the stranger who had become her guide, protector, and, in ways she didn't yet fully understand, the keeper of her heart. The city seemed to hum with secrets. Emma moved silently beside him, her senses sharp, every shadow a potential threat. The USB drive burned in her bag, heavy with the weight of knowledge, and yet heavier with the responsibility it carried. "Where are we going?" she whispered, keeping her voice low. "To the heart of it," he replied. His jaw was tense, eyes scanning every street, every window. "Time to meet someone who knows more than I ever could." Emma's stomach twisted. She had trusted him, but trusting a stranger who knew her life better than she did felt like walking a tightrope over a canyon. They entered a nondescript building in Lower Manhattan. Inside, the walls were lined with maps, monitors, and files that made her head spin. In the center of the room stood a woman tall, confident, with eyes that seemed to pierce through Emma's very soul. "Emma Carter," the woman said, voice commanding. "Welcome to the real story." Emma swallowed. "I don't understand. Who are you?" "I'm Mara," the woman said. "And you?" "You are part of a network much larger than you've ever imagined. People like you exist all over the world, people with untapped potential, knowledge, or connections that certain groups want to exploit. You're one of them." Emma's head spun. I don't understand. I'm just me." "No," Mara corrected, her gaze sharp. "You are special. And the people who have been watching you, they want to control you, manipulate you, or worse." The stranger, who had brought her here, stepped closer. "They're not just observers anymore. They've been compromised from within. That's why we've had to move so fast." Emma's pulse quickened. "Compromised?" "Yes," he said. "Someone in our network betrayed us. They've been feeding information to the group that wants you gone. Or worse." Emma's mind raced. "But why me? What do I have?" "You carry something," Mara said, handing Emma a folder. Inside were documents, codes, and photographs, connections to influential people, patterns of communication, and encrypted files that could shift power balances. Emma scanned through them, her eyes widening. This is unbelievable," she whispered. "It's real," Mara said firmly, "and it's dangerous." That night, Emma and the stranger, whose name she finally learned was Liam, sat together in a safe house, overlooking the East River. The city lights reflected in the water, but for Emma, all she could see was the intensity in Liam's eyes. "Why are you helping me?" she asked, her voice barely audible. He took a deep breath. "Because I can't let anything happen to you. You're not just part of this story. You're part of me." Her heart skipped. The words, the intensity, the proximity, they pulled her in, reckless and consuming. And then the phone rang. Emma jumped. Liam grabbed it, listening intently. His expression darkened. "They know where we are," he said. "We need to move now." Before she could react, alarms blared in the distance. Footsteps echoed outside. Shadows moved. Danger was closing in faster than ever before. Liam grabbed her hand. "This way," he said, pulling her into a hidden passage. They ran through narrow corridors, stairwells, and back alleys, the sounds of pursuit growing louder behind them. Emma's mind raced not just with fear, but with adrenaline, excitement, and the undeniable attraction she felt for Liam. In the chaos, a single truth became clear. She trusted him completely, even if she didn't fully understand why. Finally, they emerged onto a quiet rooftop. Emma leaned against the railing, breathing heavily, her heart still pounding from both the chase and the unspoken tension between them. Liam approached, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're stronger than you realize," he said softly. "And you're braver than anyone I've ever met." Emma's cheeks flushed. "I don't feel brave. I feel terrified." "That's fear," he said, voice low and intense. "But fear is part of surviving, and surviving together." His hand found hers. "Makes everything else possible." For a moment, the city disappeared. The danger, the mystery, the network, they all faded into the background. There was only Liam, only the connection they shared, and the unspoken promise that neither would let the other fall. And yet, somewhere in the shadows, someone watched, waiting, smiling. The game was far from over. Emma realized that nothing would ever be the same again. Love, danger, mystery, they were now intertwined in ways she had never imagined. And as she looked at Liam, she knew one thing for certain: the story was only beginning. The city was restless, a living maze of lights and shadows. Emma felt the tension in every corner, every street, every whispered wind. It had been days of constant movement, training, and running from the unseen forces determined to capture her. Yet amidst the danger, her connection with Liam had only deepened. Each shared glance, each fleeting touch, carried unspoken promises. Tonight, however, was different. There was a heaviness in the air, a sense that the network had grown impatient. The clues, the messages, the attacks, they all led here. To this moment, Emma and Liam moved silently through an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Boxes, crates, and shadows surrounded them. The USB drive, heavy with secrets, burned in Emma's bag like a ticking bomb. "Are you ready?" Liam asked, his voice low, intense. Emma swallowed hard. "As ready as I'll ever be." He nodded. "Remember everything I taught you. Stay sharp. Trust no one outside this room." Their footsteps echoed as they approached the inner chamber. Inside, monitors flickered with surveillance feeds, some live, some pre-recorded, showing images of operatives moving through New York. Always just a step behind them. Mara stepped forward, her expression grim. "They're closing in. But tonight, we find out who the mole is, and why they're after you, Emma." Emma's stomach twisted. Every muscle in her body was tense, every instinct screaming danger. And yet, in the midst of it, Liam's presence calmed her, a steady anchor in the storm. Suddenly, the lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the room. Emma's heart raced. "Stay close," Liam whispered, taking her hand. Footsteps approached, deliberate and confident. A figure emerged from the shadows. It was someone she knew, yet someone she had never expected. Her former mentor, Jacob, the man who had trained her in coding and encryption back in Boston. "Jacob," she gasped. He smiled, a cold, calculating smile. "Surprised to see me, Emma? You really thought you could escape your past?" Emma's mind spun. Why? Why are you doing this?" Jacob's eyes gleamed with ambition. "Power, Emma. Secrets, information, control. And you, my dear, have it all. I only want what's rightfully mine." Liam stepped in front of her, protective and unyielding. "You'll have to go through me first." Jacob laughed, bold, but predictable. A tense standoff ensued. Shadows danced across the walls as monitors flickered back to life, capturing every moment. Emma realized that the only way to survive and protect the secrets was to outthink him. "Emma, listen to me," Liam whispered. "Use the drive. Distract him, then follow my lead." Her fingers trembled as she pulled out the USB. She remembered every lesson, every trick. She connected it to one of the monitors, sending false data. A digital trap that lured Jacob's team into a loop. Chaos erupted. Alarms blared, lights flashed. Jacob cursed, realizing the deception too late. Liam grabbed Emma, pulling her toward a hidden exit as operatives scrambled to regain control. Outside, the cool night air hit them like a wave. Emma gasped, her heart still racing not just from the danger, but from the adrenaline of the near capture and Liam's unwavering presence. "You did it," Liam said, voice filled with awe and pride. "You were brilliant." Emma looked at him, breathless. "We did it. Together." For a moment, the world outside ceased to exist. The city, the network, the danger all faded into the background. It was just them, hearts racing, fingers entwined. A connection that had grown through fear, trust, and shared peril. Liam cupped her face gently. "I don't care what comes next. I can't imagine a world without you in it." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I feel the same. But it's dangerous." "Then we face it together," he said, pulling her close. Their lips met in a kiss that carried months of tension, fear, and unspoken longing. It was reckless, consuming, perfect, but danger never sleeps. From the shadows, a figure watched. Jacob, enraged but not defeated, disappeared into the night with a promise of return. The city's lights shimmered, indifferent, as if New York itself knew the story was far from over. Emma knew one thing with certainty. Her life had changed forever. Love and danger were intertwined. Secrets were now weapons, and trust had become both a shield and a vulnerability. And as she held Liam, heart racing, mind alert, she realized that this was only the beginning. The shadows of the heart still held many secrets, and she was ready to face them all. The morning air in New York was sharp, filled with the hum of the city slowly waking up. Emma felt the lingering tension from the previous night like a tight knot in her chest. Jacob's betrayal, the close calls, the digital traps, it had all led to this. The final confrontation was inevitable. Liam stood beside her on the rooftop, looking out over the skyline. His eyes, usually calm and protective, were filled with determination. "Ready?" he asked, his hand brushing hers. Emma nodded, gripping the USB drive tightly. "As ready as I'll ever be. But, Liam, if something goes wrong..." He shook his head firmly. "We face it together. No one touches you. Not now, not ever." Her heart swelled at his words. Trust, fear, and love tangled inside her. For the first time, she realized that the danger was only half the battle. The other half was allowing herself to feel. The safe house had been compromised days ago, but they had tracked Jacob to an abandoned building near the Hudson River. Emma's stomach tightened as they approached, shadows stretching long under the early morning sun. Inside, Jacob waited, flanked by his loyal operatives. His eyes gleamed with a mixture of triumph and malice. "Ah, Emma," he said, voice smooth but venomous. "You've grown clever, but cleverness alone won't save you." Emma stepped forward, Liam at her side. "It won't be me you take today, Jacob. This ends now." Jacob laughed. "Do you think it's that simple? You don't even know the full scale yet." Emma's hand went to the USB drive, her mind racing. She recalled all Liam had taught her, the strategies, the deceptions, the hidden strengths she had discovered in herself. With a sudden burst of courage, she activated the drive. Screens in the room flickered to life, showing every move Jacob had made over the past months. His allies, his schemes, the proof of his betrayal. It was all exposed. Jacob froze, rage flashing across his face. Impossible. It's not impossible, Emma said, voice steady. It's justice. And it's over. In the chaos, Liam moved with precision, disarming Jacob's operatives and securing the room. Emma realized how far she had come, once terrified and uncertain, now decisive, strong, and unstoppable. After a tense standoff, Jacob was apprehended, taken into custody by authorities already tipped off by the evidence Emma had exposed. The network's threat diminished, at least for now, and a sense of relief washed over the city and over Emma herself. Outside, the skyline glimmered with possibility. Liam turned to her, taking both her hands in his. You were incredible, he said softly. I've never met anyone like you. Emma's chest tightened, her emotions raw and unfiltered. I couldn't have done it without you. You showed me what it means to fight, to trust, to care. He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. And you showed me what it means to believe in someone, to fight for love even when the world is against us. Their lips met in a kiss, lingering, unhurried, sealing months of fear, longing, and connection. In that moment, the city, the danger, the secrets, they all faded. There was only them. Days passed, and New York slowly returned to its rhythm. Emma and Liam kept a low profile, moving cautiously but together. The USB drive was secured, the network dismantled, and the city, though vast and indifferent, felt like a place where they could finally breathe. One evening, on the terrace of their new apartment, Emma leaned against Liam. The sunset painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, and for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future beyond fear. You think it's really over? She asked, resting her head on his shoulder. For now, Liam said, lips brushing her hair. But even if it's not, we face it together, always. Emma smiled, heartful. Love, danger, and secrets had woven the tapestry of their story, but now she understood it fully. Sometimes the greatest danger brought the greatest connection, and sometimes the shadows led straight to the heart. As the city lights flickered on and the night embraced New York, Emma and Liam stood together, ready for whatever came next, stronger, fearless, and united.